me!
I'm sorry.
What is happening here?
Only cowards raise their feet against children. The voice was harsh, filled with disgust. And it came from the man of the house, the millionaire who had just returned home early. In front of him, his wife stood frozen, her foot still raised from striking the maid's little daughter. What he did next shocked everyone, rewriting the meaning of love, loyalty, and dignity inside his mansion. The millionaire's car pulled quietly into the driveway. He wasn't supposed to be home yet. Meetings had ended sooner than expected. As he stepped into the grand hallway, the air felt still, yet something was off. He set his briefcase down, loosening his tie. Then he heard a sound no man should hear in his home. A child's cry. High-pitched, desperate, filled with pain. His heart stuttered, his steps quickened. He turned the corner, and his world collapsed. In the center of the polished marble floor, his wife, elegant, flawless in her tailored dress, was leaning over, her face twisted with rage. At her feet, a little girl lay curled up, clutching her knees. The girl's dark curls stuck to her wet cheeks, her sobs muffled by her tiny hands. She was no stranger. She was the maid's daughter, often seen quietly playing in the kitchen corners while her mother worked. And now she was the target of violence. The millionaire froze, every muscle rigid. His wife's foot struck again, shoving the child backward. The sound of the impact echoed like a gunshot in the mansion. His eyes widened, his chest burned. This was no accident. This was cruelty. His wife, the woman he had chosen to build a life with, was showing a face he had never imagined possible. And in that moment, he felt not just anger, but betrayal. He had fought his whole life to give dignity to his name, to protect the weak, to be a man of principle. And here, under his roof, the most defenseless soul was being trampled. The maid, in her plain uniform, rushed forward. She dropped to her knees, pulling her daughter into her arms. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "It's okay, baby. It's okay." Her hands trembled as she tried to shield the child's body from another blow. Her eyes, usually downcast in silence, now blazed with fear and pain. Years of quiet obedience shattered in that moment. She was not a maid, she was a mother. The millionaire's wife straightened, brushing her hair back as though nothing unusual had happened. Her voice was cold, sharp enough to cut glass. "She needs to learn her place," she spat. "They both do." Her words carried venom, not just toward the child, but toward her mother as well. In her eyes, they were beneath her, disposable. Wealth had blinded her to humanity. She turned, almost daring her husband to disagree. The millionaire's briefcase slipped from his hand, landing on the marble with a thunderous thud. The noise silenced the room. His wife flinched, the maid froze, and the child's sobs quieted to hiccups. His face, once calm, was now a storm of fury and grief. His silence was terrifying. His wife opened her mouth to explain, to defend, but the words caught in her throat when she met his gaze. He said nothing. He didn't need to. His silence was heavier than any shout, more powerful than any threat. The wife squirmed under his stare, her confidence crumbling. The maid, clutching her child, felt a strange mix of fear and hope. She had endured years of working in quiet humility, never expecting justice. But now something was different. That evening, the mansion's dining hall was filled with family and staff. The millionaire stood at the head of the long oak table. His wife sat stiff, her hands trembling around her wine glass. The maid sat quietly at the far end, her daughter pressed against her side. He spoke, his voice calm but commanding. "In this house, dignity is sacred. In this house, cruelty has no place." Today that truth was broken. But tonight, it will be restored. All eyes turned to his wife. Her mask of elegance shattered. The silence of the room weighed on her more than words ever could. The millionaire walked the length of the table, every step deliberate. He stopped beside the maid and her daughter, gently resting his hand on the little girl's head. She flinched, but he leaned down, his voice low, steady, and filled with protection. No child will ever be treated as less in my home. The words echoed across the room, undeniable, irreversible. The staff exchanged glances, some holding back tears. The wife's face turned pale, realizing her cruelty had destroyed her power in one sentence. The balance had shifted. Respect was no longer hers to command. It had moved to the one she tried to crush. The millionaire's decision was swift. His wife's cruelty would no longer poison his house. She was stripped of the authority she once wielded. The maid and her daughter were no longer invisible. They were protected, honored, lifted into dignity by the man who had once overlooked them. As the night ended, the child, still trembling, looked up at him with wide eyes. And for the first time, she smiled faintly, safe in the knowledge that cruelty would never again reach her in this home. The millionaire, standing tall at the head of his family, had proven that true wealth was not measured in money, but encouraged the courage to defend the defenseless.